West side, I'm triple gold. Yeah, picture me rolling with some Dayton's on the Benz. I got no love for you niggas, ain't no need to be friends. Included you in my vision, thought you wanted to win. Cut you out, I tore it down and built it over again. Shit ain't stopping, I'ma pop it till the day is the end. Made myself in the beginning, then I made me again. When it's over, ice my shoulder, I ain't making amends. Play that trick in CeeLo Green, let it blow in the wind. I'm smoking better than I ever did. Gas prices just dropped, guess who got it in? Come get a fill up while the price right. In the dark, I'm shining like a night light. Cutting snow cap, the weed whiter than ice spice. Like Mike, what I say when they ask how I'm trying to ball. Y'all thinking Calvin Cambridge, but I went bald and all. Long story short, I'm never folding, but niggas still wishing and hoping. Picture me rolling, shining when you see me outside. I be chain smoking side, got me out of my mind. She be calling, trying to kick it, but it's hard to find time. Wake up in the morning, thank God, and then grind. Yeah, I don't pop pills, can you picture me rolling? 4K still, can you picture me rolling? Undeveloped film, can you picture me rolling? Fuck a record deal, can you picture me? Picture me, you niggas tickle me. Ain't fucking with my baby pictures, is you kidding me? Triple gold, made Dayton daily, I'm back in that mode. Before the summer's over, match me, I smoke out the bowl, make it roll. In the beginning, shit was going slow. Pack drop, this growing wings, come get it for it's gone. Check the mail, break a box like I'm Donkey Kong. Did a reel, made a sale before I up the post. Phone ringing, where you at? I'm on the way to you. Out the trunk, I made a killing, I know Ray Caruth. You can't dunk if you need me to throw the alley-oop. Never seen a meal, but it's coming soon, I found the loop. Went to Muse, in the dark you see my jewelry gleam. Had to make some chicken soup, them niggas sick of me. I'm back together, niggas wanna see me broken. Of course I had to triple my golden. Picture me rolling, shining when you see me outside. I be chain smoking side, got me out of my mind. She be calling, trying to kick it, but it's hard to find time. Wake up in the morning, thank God, and then grind. Yeah, I don't pop pills, can you picture me rolling? 4K still, can you picture me rolling? Undeveloped film, can you picture?
Oscar Mike Radio is a proud podcast partner of Wreaths Across America Radio, heard every Thursday at 11 a.m. and Sunday at 8 a.m. Eastern. They're also big supporters of the nonprofit I Got Your Six, Two Lives at Once. And with every Wreath you sponsor through Oscar Mike Radio, $5 goes back to this great organization dedicated to making a difference in the lives of veterans, law enforcement, firefighters, and first responders battling PTSD. Two Lives at Once pairs these brave men and women together with dogs rescued from kill shelters. In this way, two lives are saved at the same time by saving each other. Donate now. Go to wreathsacrossamerica.org/Oscar Mike Radio to help. That's wreathsacrossamerica.org/Oscar Mike Radio.
When I met you, there was peace unknown. I set out to get you with a fine-tooth comb. I was soft inside. There was something going on.
Monotony. It comes in all shapes and sizes. Dull, tedious, just plain boring. But what is this? A contender, perhaps? Something unboring by the looks of it. Jabs right at dull, an uppercut to tedium, something that keeps you on your toes, keeps your head on a swivel, a knockout punch to your old, boring workouts. Welcome to Fight Camp.
Can anybody out there hear me? Hear me?
a guy out here hollering my name when last year I spent more money on Spilt liquor.
Yeah, every bar's holy, straight divinity. Great stability with ancient wizardry. God ghost writing on the page after I prayed, he visits me. My frame is spiritually plateauing when angels lifted me.
All right, it's your boy Cena Swim broadcasting live from Dayton, Ohio. And I've got to say Dayton, Ohio, because the show is Turnbuckles and Spilt like a podcast. It's a Kevin Jeffries Leto show. But Kevin Jeffries is away on a cruise with the wife this week. So I'm running solo. I've got a couple of guests that's going to be joining me tonight. And you know, the one thing we got to say with all the Sinister One productions is, what's your podcast doing? And you know, we're here tonight. We've got a lot going on. My first guest is here with me tonight. We've got Sean Wick joining us. But this is a guy, he's been on the booth. We've done shows together over the years. Crashing the Big Field. He was a producer of the booth. He was a producer of Mark Chapetta's show, which I was on. We met over there at WBT, WXBR. This is a guy who's over at now 95.9 WATD, the Pulse of South Shore Radio. Kevin Tocci, what's going on, man?
How are you, sir?
Hanging out, good stuff. One of the things that Leto does when he brings a guest on, the first question he asks, and I don't want to skip this because Kevin is really big about mental health. On a scale of 1 to 10, what is your mental health today, Kevin?
I think it's like a 7 or 8, but I do a lot to try to stay on top of mental health. I speak to someone regularly just to kind of make sure that my house is in order and that, you know, I know where I'm at, and if I need someone to talk to, I mean, you know, I have regular sessions to kind of talk and kind of sort out where I'm at.
You know what, and that's a fucking great thing to mention, because that's part of the problem with mental health, is that people have been inbred to be ashamed to talk about mental health. And the fact that you just came out here, you said I'm a 7, and you said, but I talk to people, and that right there was the biggest fucking point of what you were saying about that number. I talk to somebody.
Yeah.
So people take it, listen. Don't be ashamed, especially like we said in the black community. It's always been frowned upon in the black community. It's one of these things where it's a sign of weakness. You know, it's not a weakness. You know, if you got to talk to somebody, talk to somebody. You know, there's no need to go through things alone. There's a reason why when you go see your primary care now, they ask that question now. That's like one of the top questions that they ask. That's one of the top questions now when you fill it out. So I really applaud you, Kevin, for coming on and just being really open like that one. That's
well, generationally. I think you mentioned it real quick, and that is that as our generation and the generation that, you know, brought us up. You're right. It was you. You know, if you were a male, you were told to, you know, suck it up. You know, if you got hurt, rub a little dirt on it. You know, there were ways where you were basically told to suppress how you feel, and that, you know, to push on and don't worry about that. And times have changed, and the thought process has changed as how we care for ourselves. And we've seen a lot of issues with mental health, and it's come at the cost of lives. And we see it in the news every so often, where mental health is the leading cause of whatever, you know, newsmaker that we're seeing, that, you know, someone was having issues, but they weren't addressed.
And it's funny because, you know, we just have a big story here this week involving mental health, but this whole thing started with a few years ago. It was the Olympics, and Simone Biles took time off because she developed a mental health issue that was tied into this whole thing of the sexual abuse that went on with the coach. And they had to start the trial and all that stuff, and it created a trigger in Simone Biles, and she had to take time off. And she come out and she says, I got to take time off for my mental health. And I remember a lot of people like, what does she talk about? She needs to work through this. This is the Olympics, blah, 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 blah. But then when people found out why she had to take that time off, it opened the door, and we started to see other professional players and professional, you know, people step up and say, hey, I got to take some mental health time off. And it's funny because it's not funny, but we saw a story this week here in Boston we have this show, The Clubhouse, that's on Netflix right now, and we have a Red Sox player who was in a slump. He was down, and he had actually attempted suicide.
Jordynne.
Yeah, and this is something that you know about. I'm gonna let you talk about because this is the type of stories that you cover on WATD 95.9. This is a big deal here. Red Sox are the love of this city and town, and the fact that this guy has come out and has admitted that he attempted suicide during a time where sometimes we Boston fans can be assholes. Every game is like a playoff atmosphere here, and that's one of the tough things about playing in Boston is that the fans want 110% every friggin' night. We've had players leave these teams because they don't like that atmosphere. They didn't like that atmosphere of playoff central every night for 100 and something games. I'll let you speak on that.
No, you're 100% right. It's a tough atmosphere. The Boston market, the New York market, those are probably some of the toughest because of the fans, and and if you're somebody who is dealing with mental illness, and I want to say that there was a Boston Red Sox back in the 40s, Jimmy Pearsall, who also dealt with mental issues and the fear of fans, and didn't know how. There was a movie that was actually done about Jimmy Pearsall, and trying to tackle his fear and overcome that, and yet be an all-star baseball player. I know that that the Red Sox did this. It's been applauded that this has come out, that Jared back in 2000 in 22 thought about putting a rifle in his mouth and just pulling the trigger and being done with it and stopping it. And it's just one of those things where it's tough. Society, and you're right. Society can be cruel, and fans can be cruel, and trying to deal with that while dealing with mental illness. You're trying to stay on top of your mental health can be difficult.
And we saw this in wrestling. If you go back to the early days of Rocky Maivia, what was that chant early on for Rocky? Die, Rocky, die.
Yeah.
Who's to say? What if Rocky was one of these guys suffering with mental health? You go to arenas every night and it's die, Rocky, die from the majority of fans. And sometimes that can put you in a place where you start to believe that. And that's where we as fans need to start realizing, hey, this is just a sport. These people are also human beings too. So you go back to that, and I say to myself, sometimes we might have to get better. And you see it. You see it in from sports writers. You see it. It's on TikTok and things of that sort, and you really don't know. We've got this whole thing going on right now with Stephen A. Smith and LeBron about his son. This is when is that line too far? When is the personal stuff too far? And that's, you got to start thinking about mental health and that reason. So you're over there at WATD. Kind of let them know what you do in your shows and your involvement over there at WATD.
So I've been involved at WATD for 20 years now. Prior to that, as you alluded to, I did do work for WBET, which later changed its name to WXBR. And I've done a little bit of everything, from being a producer on the board, producing a show, to being a news director, morning guy, to later on working at WATD, winning awards for some of my news coverage, especially in the Brockton area, to being asked by then State Senator, now Weymouth Mayor Bob Hedlund, asked me to sit in on his show from time to time when he first had it way back in the day. And then things got busy for him up at the State House, and he asked me around 2009, 2010 if I would start hosting the show, guest host the show, and do stuff. Now, Bob, the way Bob would do the show is, this is a guy who has such great institutional knowledge about a lot of the Massachusetts legislation that had been passed, and some of the bills that he would be deep in the weeds, battling with other legislators, trying to get things passed. And he could do an entire show about a piece of legislation. I didn't have that same institutional knowledge, but I have a lot of knowledge about a lot of different things, and it's stuff that I've learned and that I've accumulated over the years. So what I did once he said I'm stepping away from the show in 2010 is I kind of transformed it into a show that we would talk about one topic and kind of turned it into a magazine show where we would do 3 or 4 or 5 smaller segments, and we'd have different guests on. The opening of the show would be politics. I've got a great a group of legislators on the South Shore that I can call on anytime, and rotating between Republicans and Democrats to talk about what they're doing, what is the latest hubbub up on Beacon Hill, what are they working on, what are they doing in their district, to special guests like yourself. You've been on many times, and you've worn different hats, whether it's about wrestling, whether it's about sports, whether it's about things that are going on in the community, and have just folks in to talk. And we've had some great, special guests over the year. We had Hulk Hogan. We also had Bob Backlund on and talk. So we've had some special guests, and I mentioned those guests because those are individuals who are, that's what you do. You talk wrestling on the podcast. But I'm in my 15th year in hosting this show, and it's also been recognized by the Mass Broadcasters Association for segments that we've done. So I'm proud of what we've done, and we continue. We see it as the voice of the South Shore, and I'm just fortunate to still be doing it and have great folks like yourself come on and talk about some of the things, the current events, and what's affecting our communities, or the fun things like sports entertainment.
And you got, just a few weeks ago, you got a citation from the mayor of Brockton, Robert Sullivan. So, that was good. Of all the wrestling people that you've talked to over the years, who was your most favorite?
Oh, my. Oh, it's kind of funny. Before we went live, I was telling you, I did FanFest a few years ago in Rhode Island, and I had a chance to speak with Arn Anderson. And he was fantastic. In the years past, I've had a chance to speak with Jerry the King Lawler.
He's a good guy. Good guy.
Yeah. Vern, I remember Vern from $1 Million Man.
Yeah.
He was an interesting cat. He didn't want to talk unless I put money in his hand. But I've met some, you and I have done the fan festivals, the Comic Cons, where I've had a chance to speak with wrestlers and take pictures with them. But I'd say Arn Anderson was pretty good. I really enjoyed talking with him.
Yeah, he's another guy, wealth of knowledge, knows the industry. He knows the in and outs. He doesn't sugarcoat stuff, and he's taught a lot of guys and a lot of women coming up through that whole atmosphere. That's a guy, a Hall of Famer. Guy comes from one of the greatest factions of all time, the Four Horsemen. You can't. That's up there in the top 3 of my factions of teams. So, he was one of those guys that had me buying the WCW and NWA VCR tapes because you couldn't get them up here, and used to order those, and that was great stuff. So Arn Anderson is one of the greatest guys out there. It's insane. So we've got a lot to talk about, but let's get into the indies. In the indies, the big talk that I had was, this past weekend, Joe Bruin, who's been on this show a couple of weeks ago, he was on to promote this New England Fan Fest down in Seacarn this past weekend, and it was, from the looks of it, it was a successful event. They had people like Gangrel. They had what I liked about it is not just that could you meet people, they had a lot of these separate events throughout the early part of the day to tie into this main event. So like they had breakfast with Gangrel. So you had breakfast at this restaurant with Gangrel. He signed these wooden stakes and stuff, and you were able to take pictures with him. They did a thing with Sergeant Slaughter. They had a separate event with Sergeant Slaughter. The Mountie was there. Kurt Angle was in the house. There was a lot of people there this time, and we definitely want to be in the house next year. We want to actually get a vendor table. I think we're going to do a podcast vendor table so we can have a lot of these people who are there come by, because the guest list on this event is just amazing. And, I got to get Joe Bruin on to talk about how successful this was. And I thought I saw that about 1,500 people showed up to this event. I believe that's what you said.
It makes sense. Again, when I haven't been since, I would say it might have predated COVID. It might have been before COVID, just before COVID hit. He had it, and it might have been 7. It might have been FanFest 7. Mm-hmm. And I would say, Greg the Hammer Valentine was there.
Ooh, that's the
Honky Tonk Man was there. But they were I was kind of disappointed with them. Greg was okay, but he's kind of like, Honky Tonk just kind of, another guy who, unless you gave him money, he didn't have time for you. We're trying to do interviews with him. He's like, I don't want no part of it. Joe does a great job. Joe is one of those guys, not only does he do his own thing, but you always see him at the Rhode Island Comic Con. You see him at the Super Mega Fest. And he's usually around. And usually you'll see some of the newer and the old-time wrestlers who will go to those events and have a table and sign autographs. I've met Ron Simmons that way. Ooh. JBL, Mankind, who we fondly know as Cactus Jack, right? McBoley, who was a great guy, had pictures taken with him. They're happy to greet. Some of them, most of them are happy to greet you. Some, not so much. But Joe does kudos to Joe. I've known Joe for many years, and he's invited not only myself, but a lot of other folks like you and I, who do media and say, hey, come hang out, check this out.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a great event. We're definitely going to get a vendor table next year. That's always been one of my pet peeves. If you're there and you've got a press pass and it says press on it, a lot of these people who are there as a vendor or as a table to sign autographs, hey, you got 100 fans in the building that are going to, press guys are here to cover and help you promote being here. So give the press guys a break. Press guys shouldn't have to pay to get an interview or a picture with you, because you're going to be putting it out in the press. And I've always felt that's, but it is what it is. There's nothing you can do about it, because it's the same thing at the Comic Cons. You'll find these stars, like I heard William Zabka is a complete douche at the Comic Cons when it comes to press and asking questions, but then you could go up to someone like the Red Ranger, who I met, who played Tommy, and he was a super nice guy, free picks. He did, free picks and all that stuff because he knew we were press. So it's to each his own, I guess you could say. And I guess that would be up to the promoter to say, hey, press guys don't pay, that would be up to the promoter to say that to these people. So it is what it is. I guess it's part of the business.
Yeah, it's hit or miss with some of those guys. I remember, do you know who Richard Anderson is?
Yeah, from $6 Million Man.
Exactly. Oscar Goldman.
Yeah.
I interviewed him. He was a great guy. Then you had folks who've been in Kevin Smith movies, like a Brian O'Halloran. I think it's Brian O'Halloran. Great guy to talk to. But then you have Joey Adams, who's she was in Amy, Chasing Amy. Chasing Amy, right? Finger cuffs, right? Go to talk to her. She wanted no part of it. It's like, what gives? Like, why don't you want to do anything? Hold
on. I remember someone giving you a friggin' super hard time. We were covering for Mark Chappetta's show on a Friday, and I want to say it was the comedian from Kings and Queens, and
yes.
He busted your ball. I felt so
bad.
It
was Pat Oswalt.
Yes, he was such an asshole to you.
Yeah, he was.
I was like, dude, what? I remember you getting off that call. You were like, dude, what a douche.
Yeah, but then you had other ones like Mark had a knack for getting certain ones, and Peter Falk called in one time. And Peter Falk, man, this is a guy who's like, and he's like telling the story. He's like, my wife, she loves painting, and she's so good, and there was this Demi Moore cover, and I'm saying, look at this beautiful. And Demi Moore at the time was naked on the cover of Rolling Stone or one of the big magazines. Yeah. And I'm like, and he goes, I'm looking at this beautiful woman she's so. And I asked my wife, what do you think? And all she could see is the rock on her finger. Not so much that she was, pregnant and naked, But Peter Falk was like, he was great like that. Like he would tell stories. And you love stuff like that. When we do what we do, we're not looking to give somebody a hard time. I know you're not. I know I'm not. We're just looking to have a good conversation. You make our job. If you make our job harder, who's having fun here?
Yeah. I always talk about that time I had Gloria Gaynor on and she just ripped us apart. Right. That was just one of the absolute most horrible minutes of my life. Interviewing her, who was pissed off because she didn't write the song, so she wasn't getting any money. Oh yeah.
Okay. But you survived. What's the problem?
Exactly. So, yeah, that's the only thing I got to talk about in the Indies. Was the New England Fan Fest was a successful hit. But let's move on to AEW. Now, AEW is here in Boston this week. Tonight's the first of their 3 events. Originally, AEW was supposed to be in Vegas for the same weekend as WrestleMania. But guess what? They couldn't sell tickets out the gate at all. And it was like, to be honest, this is the type of dumb thing. AEW it's not going anywhere, people. So I know there's a lot of people who say they're horrible. They're not going anywhere. The thing is this is how Tony Khan thinks sometimes. He comes out and he thinks, I'm going to go right after WWE's throat. And then he's going to realize, dude, you're not that big. You're not going to be able to do the same weekend in Vegas as WrestleMania. Anybody going to Vegas on that weekend is going to WWE stuff. And they realized it real quick because they announced it. And I think it was like, I want to say it wasn't even 2 weeks before they said, yeah, that was a bad idea. We're going to move this.
They're trying. They're trying. I mean, I try watching it here and there, but I have to be honest with you. Sometimes the product's like,
Well, I mean, Toni Storm is kicking ass right now. And
yeah.
Her gimmick, though, is how long does this 1920s, 30s mob boss type female mall, how long does that carry on? The fans are eating it up. They're loving it. They don't understand really where it's from. But she's killing it. And she's working in all these sexual innuendos when she's doing it. So much props to Toni Storm. But again, AEW is in this place where sometimes they take 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. And, they just got this big contract now with Max. So, but the problem is that they're on Max and they've got some other things there. So actually our next guest here, let me take a quick break so we can bring our next guest in here.
Okay.
Hold tight. So let me put it on, let me take a quick break, put the Be Right Back screen on. All right, we're back here. Turnbuckles and Spilt Liquor Podcast. My guy, recording artist Sha-Elemental, is on with us. My man has got his KO shirt on. Sean, what's up, man?
Chilling. What's good with you, man?
We're just holding it down. We're here to talk. You came in at the right time. We were we talked about the Indies. We talked about Joe Bruin's New England Fan Fest event. We were real happy about that, and it's great to see that this guy had such a good event. I'm just so happy for him. But we were just getting into AEW, and I know you're up on your AEW. And one of the things we were just talking about was the fact that originally they had planned on being in Vegas the same weekend as WrestleMania, and then they realized within a week or two, this was a bad idea. Let's cancel this event, and we're going to actually move it to Boston. So they're in Boston beginning tonight and tomorrow and Saturday. What's going on, Brad Bailey? I see you in the chat. What up, fam? Brad saying what's up. But we were talking about Toni Storm and how she's hot right now. She's doing this mob mall thing, 1920s, 1930s, working in the sexual innuendos, and she is just killing it. But there's still something they lack sometimes, even though they kill it. That last pay-per-view was off the chain, but I felt like coming off that Elimination Chamber and that swerve, I think they went out and said, hey, we got to fucking kick ass, because WWE had just cashed it in. And they did. They came out, AEW, props, because that pay-per-view that they put out, that Toni Storm Mariah May match is probably in the top 3 for this year for matches so far. So what are your thoughts? Because I know, Sha, you're up on your AEW.
Well, I would say for me, like them two is as far as the women go, I would say for me anyway, that's my personal favorite feud of the year so far has been Mariah May and Toni Storm. And like you said, she's been absolutely killing it with this character. I've been loving it. And I think, to go back to what you were saying, one of the critiques is the storytelling aspect. Mm-hmm. And I think there is something there, because to me anyway, when I watch AEW, I see very short feuds. They don't really drag them out and build them up the same way.
There's no depth to this storytelling. None.
Yeah, they go too much for the hot match, which obviously we want to see it. But for me, I feel like, yeah, it's cool to get the good match with like the two best wrestlers. But if you got a good story to go with it, it makes it that much better and more engaging and draws you in. And I think that's one thing where they're not going to get the casual fan doing it like that. If they want to get a casual fan and get a bigger audience, they really need to stop being so. And to me, it's like Tony with his storylines. He just changes direction on a dime without even thinking about anything, like consequences, like having some sort of cohesion to the storylines. It's like a guy could be a killer one week, and then the next week, Tony's got him out in a tutu, like doing some goofy stuff. It just doesn't. It's like, I love AEW, and like you said, the pay-per-view was phenomenal. The matches themselves are usually really good, except for your botches here and there and your inexperienced younger wrestlers. Like what happened with recently with Thunder Rosa and Megan Bayne, that whole weird interaction they had where she didn't know if she wanted to hit her, and then like the heel didn't back down like they should when the babyface is coming in with the chair, and like stuff like that really holds them back. To me, it's like they don't talk about it before they go out there almost.
Do you guys feel that there's a lack in as far as, do you feel that Tony Khan interjects too often, or that they lack a good writing team?
I think it's more so they lack a good writing team. I think it's a big.
Yeah, I think if you have a good writing team, if you let the writing team, if you let them do what they do, it'll again, if you have that depth, it'll show, down the road. But you have to wait. I think you need a build up, and it feels as though a lot of times that build up is they prematurely give you those matches and not wait.
Well,
they don't make you want it.
Brad Bailey says Toni Storm's been. And here's the thing: they're on Max now, and here's the thing: you've got to step your game up, because, like I've said about WWE, and look, WWE might be benefiting from the fact that they're also headed into WrestleMania, but since WWE has been on Netflix, the main event has been fucking bananas, over the top, great fucking matches since the start of Netflix. There hasn't been one bad main event match, and like I said, it might just be because we were headed right into WrestleMania. This was just good timing. So let's see what happens with the Netflix Raw after WrestleMania. Let's see what happens. Can they keep this momentum up? And we'll talk about that. We'll break that down when we get into the WWE segment. But yeah, AEW is in Boston. Tickets are still available tonight, tomorrow, and Friday. So if you got to get a chance to see it, Saturday they've got Dynamite, they've got Collision, and then they've got this something fest. I forget what it is going on where you can meet all the wrestlers at the Agganis Arena. So get it. I think that's actually tonight. So if you can, get out there and check it out. They're not going anywhere. So anybody out here watching the show and they're saying AEW's this and that, they're not really going anywhere. Triple H isn't even worried about AEW. When the Elimination Chamber had the presser at the end, which has turned into my best part of WWE. I tell everybody, the presser has been the best thing ever since Triple H took over. The presser has been, I love how they flip back and forth between character and out of character, and I love how they just keep it real. John Cena at the presser was just amazing after Elimination Chamber, so, you know, we'll talk about that. But
an idea they got from AEW.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead, Kevin. You want to add on that?
No, he's spot on.
Yep. So in TNA, Tessa Blanchard, she's the champ. She's going to be taking on Masha Slamovich April 27th at Rebellion. As you guys know, TNA has that agreement now with WWE. That's why it was funny, because on this show, me and Kevin in November, December, we're like, what the heck is going on with TNA? They're not doing shit. There's nothing going on. And I said, look, I think they're getting bought. I think something's up. And then we head in the Royal Rumble. It's dropped that they've signed this agreement. And I'm like, that's why they put all the storylines on the back burner, because they didn't want no talent to move until this deal was done. So now the deal is done. Jordynne Grace is now in the WWE. She had a big match on NXT, but right now TNA, the real focus is on Tessa Blanchard now. She's the big woman there. And, you know, let's see what they do. WWE is acquiring a lot of stuff, and we talked about this on the show. There was a rumor 3 weeks ago. The rumor was that WWE had acquired Lucha Underground, and WWE came out and said, no, we didn't. That's false. But everything we're seeing right now in WWE, to me, they've acquired it. Stop effing around. Look, you've got 18 Lucha wrestlers on the roster right now. You have a whole match the other night. Stop messing around with us. Just bring the Cruiserweight belt in. Let's bring the Luchas back. Let's bring some excitement back to that Cruiserweight division. And there's a reason why you've got the Lucha Brothers in the WWE now. It's coming. It's coming. Stop it. Stop playing with our emotions, WWE. You guys' thoughts on TNA?
The only reason I'm open to that last idea is because Triple H is in charge. Otherwise, I'd be like, nah, I'm good. They're just going to screw it up and treat it like they did the relaunch of ECW and 205 Live. And they just have this funny way of devaluing their own properties with the idea that makes the top of the card that much better, which I mean, you can't argue with results, I guess, but sometimes things come off funny to me because of that.
Anybody's thoughts on TNA right now? Kevin?
No, nothing.
Sean?
I pay attention and kind of keep track of what's going on there. I will say, I think I have a thing with, like, and it's part of my issue with some WWE stuff, is the racial aspect when it comes to certain people. And Tessa Blanchard is definitely one of those people. And me personally, I have a very hard time looking past those things when it comes to the character of a person, because in my eyes, that just, like, you're a piece of trash in my eyes when you go there, because it just speaks to your character. And I know people can come back from things. I believe in second chances. So I'm not saying she doesn't necessarily deserve a second chance.
Well, she caught heat. She caught heat that first. Yeah, she caught some serious heat the first. And that a lot of people didn't even know what the heat was about. And then she was trending in a bad way. she was trending in a very bad way. So
Yeah, but I think the whole partnership with WWE, I think, has been cool so far. I like how they're doing the crossover matches with NXT, and I do appreciate how they haven't just like completely just bodied the TNA wrestlers. They've actually let them get some pinfalls, and like actually made it seem competitive, which is cool. It's cool. I like what they're doing.
Well, there are some talks. They're talking about a final Hardy Boys match with the Dudley Boys. And my feeling is we need that. We need that one final match. If it's just a table match, I'm giving it to Dudley's. But if you bring the ladder in, I got to give it to the Hardy Boys if this goes down. Your thoughts real quick on that, guys. I'll let Kevin go first.
I think it would be you're going to hate me saying this, but it would be something I'd want to see on a big pay-per-view. Maybe it's something that opens up one night of WrestleMania. I know WrestleMania is probably both nights are already spoken for, but that could be a hell of whether it's the first night or the second night, to see a legendary match like that between those two.
Mm-hmm. You, Sean?
Yeah. I mean, yes and no. Like, I love the idea of it. Yeah. I just hope we don't get a Goldberg Undertaker out of it.
Ooh.
That's where I worry about it, but it'd be cool to see.
Yeah, I'd like it. I'd like it. They do have this NXT event now that happens, so they've got to really get TNA in there. Let's get into the WWE talk, even though we've already jumped into it. Tuesday night was the 6-man match. Obi, Femi, Trick Williams, and Juwan Evans against Darkstate. Darkstate actually won this match. They destroyed Javon Evans. I was surprised at this because I thought Obi, Femi, and Trick and Javon were going to wipe them up. But no, Darkstate wins. Jordynne Grace taked on Jaida Parker, which was a no contest because the champion interfered. And then Gia came back. So that sets the tone for that one. And, NXT, I love the fact that it's butted into this, Evolve. Evolve is now the WWE ID guys, and Evolve is now what NXT used to be. What are you guys' thoughts on the fact that NXT is kind of evolved into this? What would you call it? It's not really mid, because there is some great talent in the NXT level. So what do you kind of classify that as now?
I see it as it's still an affiliate. I feel as though that's where you're developing your talent, and it eventually makes it into onto a main card. Whether it's SmackDown, if they're drafted into SmackDown or drafted into Raw, that's where you see they trend that way. I mean, what's great is that if Vince was still here, NXT would not be existing right now.
None of it. Nope.
None of it exists. He wanted to kill it. So I mean, I think it's still trying to find. While there are a lot of great things, I love the whole concept of the Darkstate, even though I feel like we've seen it somewhere before. I like the concept, but I feel that it's still trying to find its way amongst all of the WWE products.
Sean?
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page as him. To me, it's ever since Vince cut the legs out from under it with the whole 2.0 thing, it hasn't gotten back to what it was. I would say, like, at one point before AEW's existence, when NXT was like the gold, NXT Gold logo, they were like probably better than the main roster. Like as a wrestling program, especially in the ring, I felt that NXT at that point was a way better like in-ring product and was more entertaining. There was a lot less filler in it, a lot less of the just dumb interviews that don't need to happen. They just do them to get somebody on screen type of thing. Yeah. They were killing it. And then when Vince killed it, it just hasn't gotten back there. I'd say it's like 75% of what it was, maybe, in my opinion anyway.
It's rolling around. I mean, Shawn Michaels is doing a friggin' incredible job down there. The talent that's coming through there has been great. It's definitely something that people need to keep their eye on, because a lot of the people are today's stars, and I'm watching LFG, and I'm seeing. I can't wait for these stars on LFG to start showing up on NXT. Because there's some great talent on this LFG show, which I'm really falling in love with, and I can't wait for this to announce that they've got a second season of this. So let's get into in as we know, SmackDown is WrestleMania is 8 days away. Wow. And I'm not going to break down any of the upcoming matches. I want to talk about the shit leading up to this, because last Friday we had Smackdown. And you had Cody and Cena come out, and, you know, another great promo in the ring. But then Cody ends up getting the better of Cena this time in the ring. And, you know, it's funny because Cody now drops the S-bomb. And I feel like this character of him swearing in the ring is playing exactly into what John Cena is trying to say to us. That whole promo was that he's not who he really is. And when you see him drop the F-bomb, or you see him drop the S-bomb, you're saying to yourself, he's right. You know, he talked about the knock attitude by having a tattoo on his neck. And then, like I said on this show, we saw it when KO got injured. And he didn't go over to check on KO. He went over and he stood on the table and put his belt up. And that was not a Cody Rhodes moment. So Triple H has always said at the presses, pay attention to the storylines. Because he said they're 10 steps ahead of everybody. The whole Liv Morgan, Dominic Mysterio. That was months ahead of time. If you paid attention, the two of them came out of a dressing room together months before this whole thing blew up between him and Rhea and stuff. So they're doing a good thing there. So your thoughts, guys, on this Cena Cody match that happened on SmackDown, this promo?
My hopes is that Cody is going full Homelander soon. Like, I kind of hope that Cena just pushes him to the point where he just loses it and just goes nuts. Maybe he puts Cena out for good. Maybe Cena doesn't win 17. He gets Cody to, you know, break bad. And that's how it ends. They always love to swerve us at the end. I mean, we all thought, I thought Cody was going to win that first WrestleMania because we all wanted it so bad as the fans anyway. And then they were like, nope, and made us wait. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did something like that in the end. But it's good. Their whole exchanges have been pretty good. Sometimes they come off a little more scripted than we'd probably prefer. But I think it's been effective so far.
And it was somewhat personal. I know Kevin, you text me during it.
Well, again, I feel as though you have to be somebody who has been following the WWE, somebody who is not just a Johnny-come-lately fan, to get a lot of the things that they were throwing back and forth at each other. And even with Tiffany and Charlotte, you had a little bit of...
We're going to get into that.
No. I'm just saying. I'm giving an example. But yeah. I liked a lot of the depth on the promos and how they're going back and forth. And I'm feeling as though you guys might be right that we're going to get a double switch somewhere, somehow. We just don't know when. Yeah. And knowing that, but the only thing that I've noticed that has been missing is we haven't seen The Rock as much, unless I've missed something. I thought he'd be more prevalent. You would see him much more with Cena, where he is sold. Cena has sold out. With these two, would be a 1-2. You would see them one and the same, and you're not. It's just more or less Cena versus Cody at this time.
Hey Felicia, what's going on?
Yeah, I know it's
in the chat. Yeah, it's great stuff. So also on SmackDown, Rey Fenix debuted, which we talked about. I just said
Fantastic.
About. So here's the thing. I know that we have his brother in this fatal four-way match, but I don't think Penta's winning this at all because you brought Rey Fenix in for a reason. That's to bring the Lucha Brothers together and put them in that tag team position. So all these thoughts of him getting the Intercontinental, take them out your head because the tag team is the moneymaker for them. So Rey Fenix comes. He doesn't really fight anybody on the WWE roster. They bring a guy up from NXT, and he just pretty much destroys the guy. I feel like the tag team is coming. The Lucha Brothers are coming, and that's where the money is. You guys' thoughts on that one? I'll let Sean go first on that.
I think that's what's going to end up happening. I wouldn't mind a little, maybe like a 6 to 8 month like singles run for both of them to get started. Maybe each win like a singles title, just to build up the WWE stock a little bit, and then bring them together. Because I think it would make maybe a bigger impact at that point. If for the people who haven't don't already know who they are. But I'm a big fan of them as a tag team. I absolutely love them. They have a very distinct style in the ring that just looks so much different than what other people do. And I love it.
Kevin?
They're phenomenal.
Kevin?
I agree with that. I would rather want to see them separate. I'm a bigger fan of Ray Fenix than Penta. I thought Penta comes out. It's a lot of showy shit. Penta's it just he's okay, but Fenix. I mean, that first match, I think it was fantastic.
Yeah, that first match was crazy.
And I want to see them. I'd want to see them as separate commodities and see where they go before you unite them. It's a great idea.
And we've got two women with no belts that are I think are going to be the opening match to first night of WrestleMania. But Jade attacks Naomi, and one of the things I did notice right out the gate about Jade in these last couple of attacks, she's fluid. Her movement and stock is fluid. So whatever time she took off to come back from, she's paid attention and she's listened to whoever because she is making it believable. And I that was the first thing I noticed as a guy who's watched a lot of wrestling. I think Jade Cargill has learned, and I think this could be a very good match. And I'm going to break that down next week. But right now, I was super impressed with her.
Since she's come back, she looks like she's legitimately trying to hurt people, but she's not. And that's exactly what you want. And I think, right to your point, I think since she's come back, she's been way more solid. She looks like, before she looked almost hesitant, like you could tell she didn't want to hurt her opponent, especially in the AEW days. But since she came back, she's just been brutal. I loved it. That Elimination Chamber, that was fire.
Yeah. It's all about the follow through. And again, if she's following through, I think she's great. And I think she's also meant to be a singles, star, not someone who's teamed up with Bianca.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then in another story where we've seen it where the fans speak and you have to change storylines and make things better. We had Jacob Fatu taking on Braun Strowman putting another guy over. Last man standing match. That fucking match was just insane. But Jacob Fatu, athletic as hell, comes out on top. He's going to advance for that title match now against LA Knight, who I can't wait. I hope he beats the crap out of him. But Jacob Fatu has become this crazy, insane fan favorite in probably the shortest amount of time that I've ever seen in the WWE. Kevin, your thoughts real quick on Jacob Fatu, man.
Well, he's kind of come out of nowhere from being, to being an enforcer to kind of being his own guy. I think that's what, where he's not being a follow the leader type. Hey, you're either with me or you're against me. And I think that's kind of jazzed people. And also having his resilience. I mean, he's such a resilient wrestler where this dude can be slammed through, a pile of tables and he'll get up 5 minutes later. You know what I mean? He's not dead in the water off and, counted out. He's back in. Or, he's hit with one of the other stars' moves and he's unaffected. And I think fans like stuff like that. They want to see somebody who's resilient and who's able to work through, a cheesy move and still be able to be, effective.
Yeah, your thoughts? Because he's made Solo pretty much irrelevant right now. He's the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He completely overshadowed Solo, from day one.
Yeah.
I was aware of, so obviously I know the Fatu name because of Rikishi Fatu, everybody before that. So I had heard there was a new Fatu coming up through the thing when he was at the MLW. So I was like, oh, let me check this dude out. Let me see what he's doing. And it was right at the time he left. And I would just watch it. I'm like, yo, this guy is going to be a star. In the ring, he just looks like a madman. He's just, I don't even know, how to describe his persona, just like a wild animal who may tear your face off and eat it. I don't know. It's just crazy. And I love how they've been playing into his criminal past here and there, dropping those little things. So if you pick up and you're like, yo, that's slick. I like that. That's funny. And he's going with it. So he is the star of the future to me. He probably will be the biggest member of the family within the next 5 years. Jacob Fatu will probably be the the top guy in the bloodline.
Head of the table.
Except for maybe The Rock, because it's The Rock.
Yeah.
Right.
But for full-time wrestlers?
Yeah.
I just want to throw it out there.
Felicia says she loves Jacob. Great performer, very athletic in the chat.
If I can throw it out there real quick, Keith, if you remember back in the day with Offense Sika, right, Samoans, they were indestructible, and I kind of feel as though that's kind of the lineage that he's going with.
That's
he's
exactly
channeling that for sure.
That's exactly what's going on. And then my man down here, Sean, you got the shirt on. We were watching SmackDown last weekend. It was super heartbreaking because at first I thought, is this a work? And then you saw his face and you saw Nick Aldis' face and you were like, holy shit, this isn't a work. And it's sad because you go back to his last two matches. KO's last two matches were fucking fire. But when you have him go through that ladder and you see his neck, and I said that night, I'm like, he's hurt. There's no way this man is not hurt. So for him to come out and do this promo and then tell people neck surgery, and they're talking 2 to 5 years, and the possibility he may not be back. My mind immediately went back to that ladder coming off that announcer's table where I said, he's hurt. He's hurt. You got the KO shirt on. He's one of the hottest workers, man. You gotta love him. You gotta love KO, Kevin Owens.
Obviously, I'm a huge fan, and like I was saying off camera earlier, he's the one that got me back into professional wrestling. So when the WWE network came back, I was like, oh, $10 a month. I'm like, I'll subscribe to it for like a month or two. I'll watch all the classic stuff, all the documentaries, and then, I'll cancel it because I'm not really watching the current stuff. So one day, the current stuff is on. I turn it on. I think it was Raw or something like that, or a replay of Raw, whatever it was. And it was his main roster debut when he came out and confronted John Cena. And as a white rapper, I could not stand the whole John Cena gimmick because it just felt like he was mocking me as a human being. So I was just like, F that guy. Like, I don't like him. Yeah, all that. So when he came out and did what he did to Cena and put him down, I was like, yo, I like this guy. And then I'm like, let me find out like more into him. And I looked it up and I saw a lot of his like Ring of Honor stuff, his Kevin Steen and stuff. And what took me at first too was his moveset was the moves he would use was stuff you wouldn't really see from anybody else. Like that, is it the fish hook suplex off the top rope that he does off the second rope?
Yeah, that's insane.
Like, nobody does that. Like, stuff like that I saw, and I was just like, oh, man, this guy is so dope. Like, great personality. He could talk for days. And, like, they were just doing great things with him. The whole Sami Zayn feud and NXT back in the day. Like, even before that, the El Generico stuff. Like, and the dudes... You could tell that guy gave like his entire being to wrestling just based on what you've seen. Like you said, that ladder spot, and then all the other ones for the years and years and years before that. Like looking back on it, when you see that from certain people, it's almost like these things are inevitable. And for me, it's like almost an end of an era in a way, because like he was my reintroduction to the fandom, and now it's like my favorite guy is gone now, and it's crazy. Sucks.
Yeah, 2 to 5 years, and like I said, when he pretty much in his speech was kind of like what you just said. He doesn't know if he's going to be back, and like I said, when he said neck, it went right back to that Cody Rhodes match, and that going through that ladder, and his neck was bent, and I'm like, he's got to be hurt. He's got to be hurt. There's no way this man isn't hurt. So I'm pretty sure that's when it happened. Your thoughts on KO not being at WrestleMania?
I'm bummed out. I mean, I wanted to see the feud between Randy and KO, and like Sean had said, I love this dude. I love his anger. He's believable as a WWE talent. I love the fight Owens fight. Loved all that stuff. Loved how angry he would get, and just his in ring. And even the stuff he did, I loved, back and forth with Sami Zayn, and now he's gone. You know what I mean? And how long is he gone for? I'm hoping he'll be back in 2 years. It's one of those surprise things that he shows up at WrestleMania 43.
They're saying 2 to 5 years, and he even said himself he doesn't even know if he's going to be back. So now we move forward, and that's the rumors are everybody's got these rumors out there that Aleister Black is signed and he's going to be the replacement for KO for Randy. I don't think so. You're not signing Aleister Black and giving him a fucking WrestleMania match right out the gate with Randy Orton. There's no way that's happening. I wish people would stop some of these fucked up rumors that they put out there. I don't see it.
I'd rather have Rusev in that spot. Rusev would make more sense. It would be a bigger comeback, I feel, because he was a bigger star in WWE than Aleister Black was. He was always never treated properly by Vince and really given much of a platform when he got to the main roster to do much.
But see, I thought they signed Aleister Black to bring him in to be part of the Wyatt Six, and to kind of bring that. I mean, because look at all the push they gave to the Wyatt Six, and then it's kind of
floundered.
Yeah.
Floundered,
Yeah, really.
You know, it had potential, and then Uncle Howdy gets started. It's like it's over.
Yeah,
I think
the rumor is Braun. The rumor is that's where Braun might be headed. Strowman.
Aleister Black and Braun in the Wyatt Six could be.
Well, I think Aleister is going to be that guy in Judgment Day because I think the Finn Balor. I think Finn Balor's tied to Judgment Day. I think he's sick of everybody in that group, and I think we're going to see that. And I'll be breaking that down next week. But I think Finn Balor's done.
Did we get the Demon back?
I think so. I think that's what's coming. I think that's exactly what's coming. You know, and I wouldn't be mad with that. So, whatever you guys think. Also on SmackDown, the favor was revealed. The favor is he wants the wise man in his corner, CM Punk, and it was just great television. Paul Heyman is a fucking national treasure, dude. That dude kills it, man. This guy, when he had the tears in his eyes, and Roman says, "You better wipe them tears and let him know," and he turned him down. And that was, Paul Heyman is a treasure. He sold it. It went over well. And what you thought is really not that big of a deal, they're making this look like it's a big deal. Because some people, would be like, okay, what's the big deal that he's in his corner? But it works. So,
yeah, they've turned something I wasn't really looking forward to into something I'm looking forward to now. You know how the history of the triple threat isn't very good, for one thing. But I do feel these three guys could probably pull off a really good one. And now they've added to the story enough for me that they've got me engaged with it, where I didn't think they were going to be able to do it.
Well, they've done it. Your thoughts, Kevin, on Paul Heyman?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Heyman. I feel that he's, anybody that he's added to, anybody who he is paired with, I think it enhances it. I mean, the success of the tribal chief, I feel, was totally tied to Heyman, and Heyman just is one of those guys. He's brilliant. And
Brock Lesnar. If it wasn't for him, Brock Lesnar would have went nowhere because Brock Lesnar was stubborn as a, he was horrible on the mic. He finally towards his end, Brock was getting good on the mic. But when Brock was first brought in, and he just couldn't cut it, man. Couldn't cut it.
So you needed a guy who can get on the mic and be able to talk and let the guy with the muscles get in there and do what he does. Yeah. But no, I think the WWE is you don't have many manager types who are good on the microphone like you had back in the day. Heyman is one of those rare commodities.
Yeah, he is. Yep. So that last part of SmackDown was the steal of the night. We have Charlotte Flair come out and Stratton come out, and Tiffany and her obviously go off script. So you have promos and then you have shoots, and there's a difference. And this promo went off the rails somewhere in the middle there, and it got real. Shit got real. Tiffany, to me, she rolled out the ring because she knew a real ass kicking was probably coming because she crossed the line. She went there. She talked about her being 0-3 in her marriages. And, Charlotte Flair tries to bounce back and says, well, Kaiser's in my DMs. And I said, wow, I'm pretty sure Tiffany Stratton went to the back and the first thing she did was got on her phone and confronted her man. Because he actually released a statement the next day. So I'm like, damn, it was that serious. And I knew it was serious because I went to look it up to show somebody on YouTube, and WWE actually cut that part from the replay. So I'm like, oh, they definitely went off script if they're cutting it from the replay. So what were your guys' thoughts on the Stratton Charlotte Flair? I'm going to go with you, Sean, first.
I do and always have thought Charlotte Flair is absolute trash. I can't stand her. Everything about her is, I'm just like, yeah, I get why she's been divorced 3 times. I can't even fucking, excuse my language. I'm sorry.
You can do that.
I can't even, like, you ever look at somebody and you're just like, ugh. And then when they talk, it confirms everything you assumed about them in a way. Like, that's where I'm at with her. So, like, she's trash. Like, she's only done the one character. Her entire run has just been that stuck up, like, I'm the best thing. And she's never done really much else character-wise beyond that. And then, like, she's not horrible in the ring or anything, but I don't know. I can't stand Charlotte. So, like, I was laughing, like, Tiffany killed her, and I was loving it. Because I was like, yeah, get her.
She murdered her.
The whole, like, Kaiser thing, I'm like, Kaiser, I hope he's watching this right now. If you choose Charlotte Flair over her, like, just go in a cave somewhere and just never be seen ever again by sunlight. Because, like, I'm sorry, and that's like, but yeah, that went off the rails. You could definitely tell it was a little personal there, which is nice though, because that usually at least adds to the reality of it in a way, and we can appreciate that as fans. They probably didn't like it, but hey, it was entertaining.
What's his name's face really set the tone, because you could tell he was like, oh shit. Kevin, your thoughts?
I wouldn't say that I like Charlotte Flair. I've always gotten a kick out of the character that she is. I've always gotten a kick out of how she wins. She wins when she returns from injury instantly, but then loses it just as fast. And I feel that they keep her around because she is the offspring of Ric Flair, and it's she's similar traits as her father. I would say,
sorry.
But you know what, Ric Flair in the day was like, he was
huge Flair fan as a wrestler, but as a human, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But I want to say the previous encounter between Tiffy and Charlotte like handed her a lunch, and I felt like Tiffy just couldn't talk. I almost feel as though this last interaction, somebody pumped a little octane into her tank, saying, "You gotta talk. You gotta talk this thing up. You're just sitting there and you're not saying much. And you're not countering her." So the only thing she could do was kind of just throw truths at her. That's what I think.
She mic dropped her.
Yeah.
So we got into Raw this week, and we're headed in. We're 8 days away from WrestleMania. Now your Raw and your SmackDowns, it's kind of more of the storyline stuff. You're not going to see much action from the regular guys because they don't want to risk those injuries. So you get some of these other smaller, different type matches for people who you're not probably going to see at WrestleMania. So we saw Lyra Valkyria and Bayley. They were in a great match that Monday night. That match was just insane. I was surprised. Yeah. That was a mid-card match, and it was just a kick-ass match. Bayley and her put on a hell of a show. Lyra comes out on top. Bayley shows a little bad guy side, but then she changes her mind and comes back, and she hugs her and puts her hand up, but then she looks at that belt. So you got to kind of watch out for Bayley. But that was a great match, guys. Your thoughts on that match? That was a friggin' superb match.
I mean, I've never seen a bad Bayley match personally.
No.
Like she's always on point. I have absolutely nothing bad to say about her. So just per usual, doing what she does.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great match, but Bayley just came back from heel and has gone, is now kind of a baby face. I'm surprised that they would tease her, turning because she wants another shot at the title. Unless she's going to turn on her. Don't they have a tag team match coming up?
Yeah, that Friday night.
Yeah.
Friday night on SmackDown. So,
yeah.
And then it was official now. Women's triple threat match is now official. I love all three women in this triple threat match. I really love Io Sky, and I love this storyline with Io being she's not recognized. That these two are looking past her, and I like this storyline because I feel like that's really how you got to sell Io in this. These Naomi and Rhea are juggernauts, and that's it's the more believable thing to this story that they would definitely disrespect her and think that she's not the person that's a threat. And Io showed on Monday night that, hey, I'm a threat. I can come off the top of these ropes. And she stole the match from Naomi a few weeks back. So Io is, and like I said, they're on Netflix now. They're catering to the Japanese and Asian market, China markets. So the fact about somebody saying, well, Io doesn't fit here in America, a lot of it don't matter now. You're overseas. You've got that market now. So you can really sell in Io Sky and keep that, where it is right now. So I like it. I'm really looking forward to this triple threat match. You guys thoughts? Kevin, I'll let you go first.
I like the whole idea of the disrespect angle. Being a Patriots fan, we know the whole thing earlier on of being disrespected, and that was bulletin board material. I think this is the same for Io. I'd be surprised though if she comes. Again, I know we're not talking matches here. What the outcome's going to be, but I'll be curious to see who comes away with the belt, if she retains it or if she loses it. But I like what they're doing, and let's see what happens.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm curious if the ladies can pull off the triple threat. I'm looking forward to it. For me, my pick's Io Sky. Out of the three of them, she's probably my favorite, who I'd root for in that situation. Will she win? I don't know. But I do like the idea of the disrespect angle and everything, because she is kind of being overlooked in that situation in a way. And I think after the last couple years of run that she's had, she deserves better than that.
Well, I think, and here's the thing too, I think we're going to be a little disappointed with this match. I think it's going to be a hell of a match, but they have announced Evolution is coming. That's going to be in Connecticut. That's an all-women's PLE. And you've got to have your top women's stars ready for this PLE in July. And I think this is just a precursor to what's going to happen in Connecticut in July. I think you have Naomi and Jade, but you still got to bring Bianca into that mix of that issue. So I think there's a lot of things that can happen in this triple threat match, and I'm gonna break it down next week. But I'm really looking forward for that match. Then we had what I said. They're getting ready to unleash this Lucha Underground. We have this whole disrespect by Chad Gable, aka El Grande Americano, stealing the win.
I love that.
Disrespecting the Lucha, aspect of Lucha. And I'm like, this is all to set up the Cruiserweight Lucha division. This is coming. This is coming, people. This is coming as we know it. Pay attention. There's going to be some exciting wrestling. If they can do this correctly and do it the way that WCW did it back in the 90s, because you couldn't touch WCW Cruiserweight division. You couldn't. Juventud Guerrera, all these guys, you just couldn't touch that. Rey Mysterio, that was the best of WCW right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. You've got some great stuff there. So your thoughts on that and the Luchas, guys, because that's what it looks like. It's coming.
Go ahead, Sean.
It would be cool to see if they do it right. That's my big thing about it. It's a big if, because Lucha Underground really, I know we talk about WWE is much more storyline driven than AEW, but Lucha Underground really takes that whole storytelling aspect up another notch, because they add a lot of actual acting to it and a lot of stuff that's not just wrestling based when it comes to more of a TV show than just a wrestling show. I'd say. So it'll be interesting. They got enough luchadors to pull it off right now.
They do.
Probably 16. The best in the world,
They're
minus
16
a couple
right now. Yeah, they got 16 right now. And you've got a lot of guys that you could put into that cruiserweight division that aren't luchas that can really make a difference. Kevin?
I like the whole Kurt Angle, the Americano Grande. I love that. I love that, he's playing that he's not this lucha, but yet he is. And you guys have already kind of said what I would say as well, is they have to do it right. and it can't go the way of 205 and all the other attempts that they've done in the past, where it's, it's half-assed and it's not carefully curated. If you want something that's going to last a long time, and I think maybe you do have to have more of a little bit of a storytelling angle to it, and maybe more something that's not as wrestling, not so much of the wrestling part of it, but also maybe a TV show that would kind of accompany it, so it would complement it. Just an idea.
Felicia in the chat says Asuka's coming back soon. I don't know. She's having a stalker issue. Asuka was battling an injury, but she's got a serious stalker issue. The person tried to break into the house. The person confronted her. So there's an issue there that they've got to check. Felicia in the chat said Bella, her daughter, asked if KO was on the show. She thought Sean was KO.
Sean does have a KO look.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I can see it.
I can see it.
That's awesome.
I can see that.
That is.
You can tell her yes.
So then we see, and look, I don't know who's cutting the WWE promos right now, but they've also stepped the game up for tugging at your heart promo. So Jay confronts Gunther after Gunther just destroyed his brother the other night. And then they put this heart-tugging promo together with this beatdown with Jay screaming, "I'm going to kill you," and that's my brother. And then they go back to clips of them as kids and clips of them dancing with their dad, and it sells it. It sells it. And then they come out to this promo, and Jay comes down the stands, and he does it right. He doesn't yeet. He lets everybody else do it, but he comes down to the ring, all seriousness, and he says, "I realized something in this moment." And he says, "I'm not scared of you no more." That was what they were selling. They were selling that Jay was scared of him, but now he's not scared. I don't care what. This is the one match that I can say, and I've been saying it. Jay's getting that belt because Saturday night's main event is quarterly, 4 quarterly matches. He's going to be the face of Saturday night's main event, and that's where we're headed.
This, as you were kind of spelling that out. This seems as though it is a carbon copy, or it's has samples of last year Cody versus Roman. Finish my story. I feel that. Tell me if I'm wrong here. I feel it has a similar feel to it.
Yeah, it does. It does.
You're like, I ain't afraid of you. Knowing that there's something that needed to be conquered. Cody had the same thing. He had to conquer that he had never been a champion, and you had a guy who had this historic championship run. I feel it's the same way. And knowing Gunther's just beast. I love him. He's a great. I love him. As he's championship timber. Maybe they're getting him ready. Maybe he loses this belt and then he's moving
to the main. He's moving to the main roster. That's my feeling. I think he's moving. He's going to move to the main roster. He's ready. He's ready to start being with the big boys. Sean?
Yeah. My only thing with the whole thing about him coming out and saying, like, "I'm not afraid of you," is, Jay, you probably should be, because I know twins. Like, is one really that much tougher than the other? If he whooped him like that, he's probably going to whoop you like that too.
Yeah, it's true.
You may want to watch your mouth. But yeah, I agree with you guys. Like, Gunther is just in the ring. He's the ring general. I mean, they nailed that one. And then he's just gotten so much better on the mic and everything. And this feud's pretty cool. I'm not the biggest Jey Uso fan. I actually like the Usos better as a tag team personally. But it is nice to see him get his due and actually have a little run. So I like the idea of him maybe getting the belt and then, doing the whole main event thing for a little while. It'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, but I think he's going to be the face of that. That's right. I think that because everything about him, even his logo, matches the Saturday Night's Main Event logo. When you go on WWE website, so I'm like, it's coming. It's coming. This is going to be his thing. He'll hold up that title every quarterly. That will be his big match. When we had Saturday Night Main Event before, that's exactly how this kind of worked out. You had Hogan holding it. He had a big match every now and then on Saturday Night's Main Event. There was always this quarterly huge match that happens. So I think that's exactly kind of what's going to happen. Also on WWE Raw this week, Penta versus Dom sets up a fatal 4-way match. Again, I think, like I said, I think Penta's going to lose. There's no way he's winning because they got to bring the Lucha Brothers together. I think Braun Breaker is going to do what he needs to do, so we'll be breaking that down next week. Braun Breaker he's another guy that's really come in here. I haven't heard anything in the rumor mill about him having a big head, which is usually the problem that we see when we have Nepo babies coming into the WWE. The first thing you hear is how they come in with big heads, and they got to be. I'm not hearing that about Braun Breaker, and he had a great dad and a great uncle. So if anybody should be coming in here with a big head and not be, you would think Braun is, but Braun has been holding it down. And Jesus, I thought he killed Carlito on Monday night.
Oh my God! Yeah. That was like
even Carlito put a post up saying, for those asking for my thoughts and prayers on his Twitter. It looked, and I love it because, it's funny because originally WWE used to tag and flag everybody for posting content. And the WWE has learned now that, hey, tagging and blocking it isn't the best thing. We need to let these people post their shit because it's working.
Yeah.
They did that to me. Because I sampled a little bit of it was like, who was it? It was like Gorilla Monsoon or something at the beginning of a song. And they literally sent me something like, oh, you got to do this. I'm like, I literally made no money off this, so good luck. Have fun. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you.
But the videos are working for them. The viral videos on social media is killing it for them. I mean, these angles that they're getting, a fan has probably the best footage of this spear, and they roll with it, and now they're giving people credit, so it's great stuff. I'm loving it. And like I said, WrestleMania is now 8 days away, and we're going to be breaking this down next week. So good stuff. Wow, we're at 8:20. We went a little bit over. Good stuff. I'm going to let Sean go first, man. Tell him where to find you. Tell him where to look for you. Tell him what you got coming up.
Word. So be on the lookout for some new music dropping soon. I got another joint with Bofat beats. Probably, I'm like this close to finishing this joint. So this one's going to be out very soon. It's just continuing off of the last one. Like that, probably my favorite album I've ever dropped. If you haven't heard it, International Dastardly by Bofat Beats and Sha-Elemental. You find that all streaming everywhere. Apple Music, Spotify, et cetera, et cetera. Be on the lookout for the Culture Corner group on Facebook. If y'all into hip hop culture, music, politics, all that stuff. I mean, the hip hop politics too, not all this bipartisan nonsense people be arguing about all day online. I mean, like, yeah. I don't know how you deal with some of those people. I'm like, yo, this guy's got way more tolerance than me, but hey, good for you. That's why I like you. You can check me on Instagram, SeanWick978. Beat me there, and on Facebook under Sean Wick as well.
Kevin?
Yeah, I just want to say it was an honor and a privilege to be able to share the show with you, Keith, and you, Sean, and kind of chopping it up, talking sports entertainment and at its finest. I did get a chance to say something quick about Braun Breaker, another guy who I love. Love the Breaker. I love Gunther, and I love Jacob Fatu. Those three guys, the future of the WWE.
Solid. Yeah, they're
solid future. Solid. I just love Breaker's attitude. Monday Night Talk, 95.9 WATD, weekly show, 6:15 to 8. We talk a little bit of everything from current events, politics, to authors and sports entertainment. You can find me on Spotify, also Podbean, and 959watd.com is the website. You find me on the Gram. You find me on Twitter, now known as X. Facebook under Kevin R. Tocci.
And don't forget the bee guy stuff, man. You were just doing some stuff the other day with the bees and getting some fresh honey.
Right. So yes, I'm also a local beekeeper who. It's kind of a rare thing up here in the Northeast, but I actually had a hive that has actually made it 2 winters, and that's kind of a rare thing up in the Northeast here. Mm-hmm. And next weekend we plan on. One of the hives that it almost made it through the second winter. We lost the colony, I would say about a month and a half ago. We're going to be spinning that and getting some fresh honey. So,
and just let people know real quick, what are the benefits of the fresh honey, health-wise?
Oh my God, dude! Well, first off, you don't eat it with a wood. You eat it with a wooden spoon, not with a metal spoon, because you kill the enzymes in it. But it's Google. You'll see what all the different things are that honey can help you with.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And it never goes bad either. That's the other thing.
That's right.
Honey has no expiration date.
Nice. And I heard if you put mushrooms in it and leave them there for a long time, they may just multiply.
Really?
Well, they don't multiply. The psilocybin grows and multiplies within the honey itself, and then you can eat the honey and you get the same results as the mushrooms.
Oh man.
Very nice. And that's your health.
Don't try this at home, kids.
No.
Felicia says she loves local honey. It helps heal wounds. Hey, I got to thank these guys for coming on the show. Kevin Jeffries will be back with me next week. We're going to be breaking down our predictions for WrestleMania. We're headed into this, guys, 2 days, 2 nights of just unbelievable action. And they're coming from Vegas, which is huge, Allegiant Stadium. And then they're going to have stuff, is going to be inside that globe. It's going to be a lot to see. And then we've got the Hall of Fame. Real quick, guys. Hall of Fame, are you guys happy with the Hall of Fame pick so far this year? And the fact that they added best match of all time? I love that. I love the addition of that guy.
Well, let's see what the best match turns out to be.
Is it Edge and Orton?
It's the Stone Cold Shawn Michaels match is nominated for best Hall of Fame match of all time.
The one I was there for?
Oh yeah, you were there for
14?
that? Yeah, yep, that's nominated. And the Hell in a Cell match is another one that's nominated, and I forget what the third one is.
I hope it's Stone Cold and Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13, because I put that above.
That's it. That's it.
All right.
That's it. There's three going in, and every year they're gonna have 3 matches that are going in as the best matches of all time, and that is the third one.
That's pretty cool.
Bret Hart, and it's cool because they put together these interviews of the guys of exactly what was going on, during those matches and what was being said. So.
That's dope.
Awesome.
Stone Cold actually says that if there was no Bret Hart, if there wasn't that match, there would never be a Stone Cold. He said.
Wow.
There wouldn't. Everything changed in that night.
So
that and the promo.
Great stuff. So hey, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Everybody in the chat. We'll be back here next week on our regular scheduled night, Tuesday at 9:30. It's your boy Sinister One, and we're gonna get out of here. Thanks for tuning in. We're out.
And me in vantage points, so I can't abandon joints. Gotta grab the coins, pay me wickedly. Superman of Thor, who am I? Haters mimic me, and they fans cheer him on with their capabilities. Wow, double entendre, crazy lyrically. Had to read a page in Timothy to take it seriously. Cause I ain't scared, I ain't got no fear, baby, get with me. Open doors for the people, you can say it's chivalry. I drop bombs, it'll be a day in infamy. Mainly cause all my ops feeling painful instantly. Stay for sympathy, not me. Creating imagery that everybody you like, I made a simile. Facts.